it's Jennifer at Home, and I'm so happy you're here today because today I have some very important facts about picking a wonderful watermelon and then how to cut it up once you get it home. You don't want to pick the prettiest, glossiest watermelon because watermelons are typically glossier and shinier before they're ripe. So when you pick a watermelon, you want to pick a watermelon that has a dull exterior, one that is not super shiny and bright, because the riper the watermelon gets and the better it gets, the duller the exterior sheen is on the watermelon peel itself. So the rind on the outside, you'll want to look for a dull looking watermelon. When I go to look for a watermelon, the number one thing I'm looking for is the field spot. And what the field spot is a great big yellow spot on one side of the watermelon. And that's where the watermelon sat in the field. If the watermelon is missing the great big, unattractive yellow spot, that means it was harvested too soon before it was even ripe. So when you see that great big yellow spot on the watermelon, that's a prime indication that that watermelon was left to ripen in the field just as it should have been, and that means it is nice and juicy and sweet inside. Another really great indicator of the condition of the watermelon is to knock on it with your knuckles. Your knuckles should bounce off the watermelon. The exterior should be hard and firm. If it starts to feel soft and spongy in any way, that means it's getting overripe, and it may not be good on the inside. As I mentioned before, picking the prettiest watermelon isn't always the best way to go. If you pick a watermelon with black spots like this, or a series of little dots going off in a line like this, that is a great indication of a good watermelon. The black spots are sugar spots and indicates sugar seeping out of the watermelon, which means it's really sweet and juicy. And a series of little dots, not a cut or a gouge, but little tiny dots, such as these, are pollination points. And these little pollination dots mean the watermelon is extra delicious and extra sweet. If you've ever wondered if the weight of the watermelon has anything to do with whether the watermelon is a good quality or not, or ripe or not, yes, it actually does. The heavier the watermelon, the more juice that's inside. And the more juice inside the watermelon, the better and sweeter it is. So when picking up a watermelon to give it these tests, make sure you pick up one that has a really nice, good weight to it as well. Now that we've successfully covered how to select the very best watermelon, let me show you how I cut the watermelon up to serve it the very best, easiest, non-messy way. Some things you may need to cut a watermelon. An apron is a good idea. And then I always get a grocery store bag and I open it up and put it right beside the cutting board. That way I'll have it right there handy to put all the peelings in as I'm cutting the rind from the watermelon. And I get a nice big clear container. A little bench scraper is always great because then when you cut the watermelon, you can easily pick it up, the juice will drain off, and you can put it right in your container. I got this at the Dollar Tree, so you could pick one of these up. It's good for many, many different things. Number one, I had made sure before I even put the watermelon on my cutting board that I washed it. I put it in the sink. I always wait and do it right before I'm ready to cut it because then it'll still be clean and I won't risk getting the watermelon completely saturated with water and leaving it sit around to mold or anything like that. So the watermelon is very clean because you've already put it on your cutting board, and as you're cutting, if you use a dirty watermelon on here, your cutting board would be contaminated with dirt from hands or the field or wherever the watermelon came from. So start with a clean watermelon. Then the first thing I'm going to do is I like to use this knife. This is just my favorite kitchen knife that I use for just about everything like this. And I'm going to just take it and take off the end. And rather than putting it in sewing and sewing, I just get the watermelon with a good grip and chop right down and take that end right off and toss it right in the bag. Then I go to the other end and do the same thing. Once I do that, I toss that in. I have the watermelon flat on one end, and then I'm just gonna take it and hold it firmly and just start cutting down and around just like this. Just follow the shape of the watermelon. And each time I cut a piece, I toss it over in the bag. You don't want to cut down too deeply and waste a bunch of your watermelon. But you can see right at the top, I'm going to put the knife right at an angle where the white part is. And then you can watch down the side of the watermelon as you're cutting and see exactly how much you're taking off. And as you can see with this, there is very little waste. I'm just going to keep moving right around. So as you can see here, I'm just going to start cutting down, and you don't have to have it perfect. I'm just going to start cutting in slices. A watermelon can be really messy, and it's not the best thing to give to a guest to cut up. All right, so then I just cut the slices. I normally do this super fast. You can just put the slices down like this, stack them up 2 or 3, and then I'm going to take them and hold them in place and just start cutting them easily like this. And then turn it the other direction. And this goes really super quick. I just usually whip out this watermelon in just a matter of minutes. And there you have it, bite-sized pieces. And then just scoop them up. You can drain off any juice onto your board and just put it right in your container. Drain off the juice and into the container. And then I'll just keep going. If it's a little bit lopsided, just go ahead, and that way you can turn it this way and cut this direction. Now I'll show you another thing here you can do. When you have your watermelon like this, another thing you can do is cut across this way and then the other direction. And then that way, if you want to have little triangles to serve as typical little triangles, or if you have kids or other people coming that you want to make a tray and have a bunch of finger foods, you can take the triangle like this and put a popsicle stick right in the end of it. You can even cut them in bigger pieces, of course, and then have, if you want that traditional wedge and you don't want that big messy rind on there, you can just put the popsicle sticks in, and then that way everyone can pick them up and serve themselves with the watermelon. As you can see, we have really easy cleanup. All of the peels are already in the bag, and then all we have to do is just tie this up, and all of the mess is right here, ready to throw away. If you decide to take watermelon to someone's house for a barbecue or cookout, always make sure you cut it up ahead of time and have it in a container that's easy to serve out of. And don't forget to have it cold in the refrigerator, or put it in a cooler or ice chest. That way it'll be all ready to go. The last thing the hostess wants is for someone to show up with a large, dirty, oversized, warm watermelon that they have to stop everything they're doing and find a way to cut this up and get it in the refrigerator and get it cold and wash it first, of course, while they're trying to get all of their other preparations done for their gathering. So be considerate if you ever decide to take a watermelon somewhere. Have it ready ahead of time. I hope you find all of these tips and suggestions helpful and useful. The next time you're in the grocery store, you can check out your watermelon and be sure to pick the very best one. And you can cut it up easily without making a tremendous mess when you go to eat it. I would love for you to subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit the notification bell, and be sure to hit the thumbs up button, and I'll see you next time.